I had a dream that I was replaced by a diverse woman. It wasn't just me. They were taking all my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women complaining about the patriarchy. Will you check under the bed and make sure there's no Disney executives under there?
Disney sues Rachel Zegler after South Park humiliates Snow White flop. The show aired a scathing cartoon scene mocking Disney for handing the iconic princess role to Zegler, who slammed the prince as a stalker and called the beloved fairy tale silly.
Oh, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. It's like we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnett. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
Disney's executives panicked when they realized she refused to honor the Snow White classic. Their lawyers ordered her to respect the original film, but she continued calling it outdated, pushing the dispute into full-blown legal territory.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again. So I watched it for the first time in probably 17 years.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now. They flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White and the prince and young love and women who want to get married.
Tension rose when Gal Gadot insisted her evil queen role stick to classic themes. Zegler tried to force more modern angles on every scene, and their disagreements broke the flow of filming. Disney was forced to rewrite large chunks of the script to remove any lines where Zegler mocked the prince. Her contract did not give her final say on creative, so Disney overruled her and restored fairy tale elements to the storyline. This decision triggered even more anger on set. At times, Zegler refused to perform in scenes that showed romance. She claimed the prince's actions were creepy, and she did not want to pretend otherwise. Gal Gadot demanded that the movie celebrate the classic love plot. Zegler argued that the entire premise was old-fashioned. The production shut down on multiple occasions, while Disney's legal team reminded Zegler that she was bound by contract to follow official directives. She threatened to walk away, but her contract included penalties for desertion. Eventually, Disney canceled all her talk show appearances to stop her from attacking the film in public. Network producers confirmed that they had removed her segments after reviewing her planned comments. Zegler wanted to keep criticizing the story as harmful, but Disney refused to allow it. South Park then released an episode showing a cartoon version of her ridiculing Snow White's romantic ending. The script matched her real-life quotes, which made the parody even more damaging. Disney executives saw the humiliation reach new heights, and they took further steps to limit Zegler's influence. She was told to follow strict behavior rules on set. Whenever she complained about the original movie, lawyers warned her of possible legal action. Her co-workers grew frustrated by her constant protests, and morale fell. The creative team had to reshoot entire scenes to align with the classic tone. Gal Gadot stayed faithful to her role as the evil queen, ignoring Zegler's ongoing complaints about the prince. Zegler found herself isolated, with no one willing to back her vision. Disney's leadership had no interest in her claims that the prince was a menace. They wanted a fairy tale that honored their first feature film. Zegler's negative attitude made it difficult for the director to maintain harmony. Scripts were revised daily to remove any modern jabs or snarky lines she had insisted on adding. Editors later confirmed they spent weeks cutting out moments where her facial expressions showed clear disdain for the love story. Disney's legal department then sent repeated notices to Zegler, stating that her public remarks had violated the contract by damaging the film's image. She responded by accusing the studio of ignoring her creative ideas. The showdown became so intense that high-level executives stepped in. They decided to block her from major events, worried she would embarrass the brand again. The marketing campaign was changed so that Gal Gadot's evil queen stood at the center. Posters focused on the queen's fierce gaze and gothic imagery, pushing Snow White to the background. The studio's final ad strategy showed minimal footage of Zegler speaking. Filming continued in a hostile atmosphere. Zegler refused to smile when performing scenes that involved the prince. Crew members had to spend hours coaxing her into cooperating. At one point, Disney considered recasting her role, but it was too late in the production schedule. Fearing bigger losses, they pressed on. The budget soared due to extra takes, re-edits, and the need to replace snide remarks with neutral lines. Disney tried to keep a lid on the chaos, but documents confirmed that Zegler's refusal to embrace the original tone was the main cause of the extra costs. The final push came when the director insisted on filming the prince's kiss that awakens Snow White. Zegler said the kiss promoted bad messages about consent. She argued that modern viewers would reject the scene. Gal Gadot fought back, saying that this moment defined the classic tale. Disney executives agreed with Gadot and they ordered the scene shot as written. Zegler gave a lackluster performance, and the studio later had to use digital effects to hide her grimace. Editors also removed lines where she criticized the prince as weird. By the end, the movie had become a patchwork of old and new scenes, many of them held together by last-minute cuts. South Park poked fun at this rocky process, showing a cartoon version of Snow White rewriting the script to remove every romantic element. That version included a fake legal standoff, which matched the real dispute between Zegler and Disney. Viewers noted that the parody used actual quotes from Zegler's interviews, making the episode feel like a documentary. Disney's legal team refused to file any complaint, declaring that it was safer to ignore the cartoon than fan the flames. The damage, they concluded, was already done. As the release date neared, Disney delayed the premiere to avoid direct competition with other films and to distance the project from the meltdown. Test screenings showed that audiences found the tone uneven. Snow White came across as uninterested in her own story, while the evil queen stole every scene. Critics who saw the advance cut described Zegler's performance as off-key and distant. Disney tried to fix this in post-production by adding more music and bright colors, hoping to distract from her negativity. Gadot's part required minimal editing because she embraced the classic source. Behind the scenes, lawyers prepared for the possibility of a flop. They compiled records of Zegler's contract violations in case she tried to claim damages. Zegler's team indicated she might file a lawsuit, arguing that she had been promised a modern reimagining but ended up in a purely nostalgic film. The studio stood firm, pointing to the legal language that gave them full power over the final story. Leaders privately admitted that trusting her with such a cherished role was a mistake. They believed that she had undermined the project from start to finish, costing them months of reshoots and negative headlines. On set, staff called it the worst production experience of their careers. They recalled days when Zegler refused to say any line that mentioned the prince in a positive light. They remembered her storming off during a key scene, leaving costume designers waiting for hours. The meltdown also led to the firing of a few marketing directors who had failed to anticipate how badly Zegler's statements would hurt the film's reputation. Workers felt relief once filming wrapped, but editing teams still had to hide her scorn on camera. The final product, many said, was doomed by the star's constant refusal to play a romantic heroine. Talk shows confirmed that they canceled Zegler's appearances due to her plan to rant about the 1937 version again. Disney wanted no more chaos, so they made sure she had no chance to spark fresh debate. She complained that her voice was being silenced, but the studio pointed out that her own words had caused the problems. By then, they had enough evidence to show that she had ignored direct orders. A settlement was drafted to keep everything contained until the premiere. Zegler signed it, knowing she faced legal repercussions if she disobeyed. With the premiere date set, Disney focused on Gal Gadot, praising her respectful approach to the source material. Gadot attended press junkets, calling the film a haunting story about beauty and envy. She avoided any mention of Zegler's disruptive behavior, while journalists stuck to safe questions about production design. Disney also shifted promotional spots to highlight the beautiful sets and costumes. Zegler's name barely appeared in the final wave of trailers. She was shown only briefly, with no voiceover. The gamble was that viewers would still come for the spectacle, ignoring the behind-the-scenes meltdown. South Park, meanwhile, posted clips online showing a cartoon Rachel Zegler standing in front of a burning copy of the original Snow White. The comedic jab matched her real stance that the old film deserved no respect. Disney made no public response. They were determined not to fuel another media circus. Employees noted that the meltdown set new records for legal interventions during a movie shoot. Each day brought fresh arguments, rewrites, or threats of contract breaches. In the end, Disney decided the best solution was to minimize Zegler's presence in marketing and hope the brand's legacy could carry the film. By the time the film hit theaters, everyone involved knew it was a patchwork. Many scenes had been cut or dubbed to remove Zegler's negative tone about the prince. The evil queen scenes remained strong thanks to Gadot's commitment. Critics who saw early screenings agreed that Snow White felt miscast. Disney braced for a possible box office disappointment, but they released the movie anyway, unwilling to spend more time or money trying to fix Zegler's performance. Executive emails confirmed that the production would go down as one of the studio's greatest headaches, sparked by an actress who took every chance to insult the classic story she had signed up to honor. Afterward, Zegler complained that her creative freedom had been trampled. Disney officials shot back that she had caused trouble by scorning the original film's core elements. Contracts showed that the role required her to respect Snow White's story and present it with genuine affection. South Park's parody became the final nail in her reputation regarding this film. The cartoon mercilessly exposed every statement she made, turning the production into a laughingstock. The meltdown served as a lesson in how a single star's negativity can derail a major studio project, especially when that star openly hates the very fairy tale she was hired to bring to life.
came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
I did some research into how this movie performed, and it's not looking good. I haven't seen a movie with ratings like this in a very long time. Keep in mind that Disney spent about like $250 million on this movie, and when the film came out, they didn't even make half of that back. Typically with movies, you want to make like, 3 times the budget, but it looks like at this rate, they might not even be able to break even.